Aho, okay. On here, Takapida, YouTube Oyate, we come together again to speak about language. Iapi. Iapi is language, and that is why we are here, to promote, preserve, and protect the language. And that is why we are here, to do exactly that. I was just looking through this booklet here of Dakota, as it is written in these history archives that was put together by a friend of mine. And I talked a little bit about that the other day, about the Royal Proclamation. And I was asked about that a couple of times yesterday, so I'd like to maybe refer to that maybe later on sometime today as we go forward in our day's lessons. But before we do that, of course, we'll start with a prayer again, asking Creator to to be with us, to help us. He gave us a life wichuni unkupe. And we want to maintain that to help us retain what it is that He's given us, a language, a life, and a place to do that, Dakota territory. I will find it after. So at this time, it taught Easter or Chenkepte. The Hanchante Shichape or Hinanaku. We'll say prayer, ask Creator to be with us again today, and we will remember those that are in mourning. Chante Shichape. Apetukinde. Ahina. Watching with those in mind. We will say our prayer. Hechitukte. Ka to kantanka. Ato kenamichich. Ake apetukudechid hoichiche. Dakota oyanke etaha. Dechid hoy awahiotakido. Onkore. Apetukinde chanteshid iotakape. Istamina pe aupi hohina. Aushwichakida wato kantanka. Oash akevichak oya. Abeto otechika hechid. Aed ihone pe hohina. Owechakik da hechid hoyo. Ukan ke Dakota watching. Dakota watching dechid oheotaka. Tukte tuwe hoyeni chika. Oshimakid omaki eyeka anakchikopta. Aochakia wa yato kantaka. O de hoyichiche. Chapeto hechid wayagmayaye. Wayagmaya pe de wopide chichiro. Aheche tokataki unkapo na pata yusech. Oichoichake techakidina tokataki na kuhe chakapshnehina. O Dakota edu haptero ayahechid. O de hoyichiche. I know na chapetu tuwe. O tawachi na re chate. Tacha kuto hechahina. Wozani wichak oyato kantaka. Ahechid hoyichiche. Achadina on wopide chichero. Omitakuyawas. Aho, so we are back in class again. Akeunheataka enana. We come when we sit. I will do a little bit of recap so far, as far as I can remember what we have talked about before. But most recently, the things that I talked about yesterday, and how to talk to takojas, the little ones, as they're growing up. Our role is a kind of like a wichocha, that the ina, the mother, the kunshi, the grandma, the aunties, tuis, that raise the young ones from Hokshiapa. Remember Hokshiapa, the baby, bibina, bibida, bibila, the babies. When they're small, they talk to them in a gentle fashion, give them little commands that they understand, and because they understand, they do as they're instructed. That's how language starts, when babies are starting to form their words, their understanding. Wakaja, Hokshiapa, Bibina, Bibida, Bibila, Hina. Same thing. Children, young babies, newborns. Hina. Chtani ha, yesterday, Chtani ha, Hina. Those, Iwawahadake. I spoke about those. Little commands for you to practice. Nia, you. For you to practice. Remember when you wake up, You try to think Dakota. What do I know in Dakota? Ampetu Uyotan Sampa afternoon, Chtayetu in the evening, Okpaza, it's nighttime dark. Ampeui, the morning sun. Ampa, the daylight. These kinds of words should be in your mind already. We've been saying those words and those phrases that come with those words continually. Repetition, remember? Repetition. It's all up to you to be able to pick it up, to register, to keep it, and to use it. Remember, to promote, preserve, and protect. It's in our constitution. Wipazakawakpa, Dakota. It's in our constitution, and yet we forget about it. We forget to use it. If it's a constitution, it's our law in this community. And you should be able to use it because it is what we agreed upon, to promote it, to preserve it, protect it. But we are to use it, and we haven't been using it. How, hankasha yahi. How stede. Oh, tid hiwa. Ya tako. Nakakadum skampido. 2 minutes. You're 2 minutes late. You're 2 minutes late, Hankash. Ya stede nakakadum skampido. Kamas ska ekstriga touching token ni. What I said was she received her old age pension. It messed around with her mind.
Shall I go or shall I not
stay? Yes. Shall I spend my money? Mazaska mi tawa my money. Bedusotekte. Uremunkte. I will use it up. I will use some. Wopetum bedekte. Wopetum is to purchase. Wopetum, purchase. Bedekte, I will go purchase. Thanks for the reminder. I'll be quick about that and I'll be out the door too. I'll quickly finish this and then I'll be on my way too. But that's a good discussion subject, you know. Kampi. Ka is an elder. Ka is the otanka. Wichachcha, old man. Wakankada, the old women. These are terms that we use on a daily. On a daily, we use these terms. Mazaska, money. Mazaska. Takondia chin, wakpeish.
money?
Many ureko. Many ureko takoja. Dote kimpuz. Dote is your throat. Dote, your throat. Puz, it's dry. Dote puz. A dry throat. A dry throat. Dote. Dote. Ampetu kinde taku, huh? Remember yesterday we talked about Ampetu de taku. What is this? Ampetu de taku. What is today? Apparently, it's Wednesday, I hope. It's a Wednesday. Apetu Wakan is Sunday. Apetu, is it Tokahaya or Inupa?
Ampetu Tokahaya.
Ampetu Tokahaya is Monday. Apetu Inumpa or Apetu Numpa is Tuesday. Apetu Iyamani is Wednesday. Apetu Itopa is Thursday. Apetu Izapta is Friday. Owanka Yajajape, washing of the floor, is Saturday. And we're back to Apetu Wakan again. Just a little clarification on why Saturday is different. Owanka yujajapi. Washing of the floor. That came about back in the settler days. Of course, before that, we did not have a Gregorian calendar or anything like that. We just went by days and days in between full moons and stuff like that. But when the settlers came, of course, there's lots of work. Tagu ichumpta ota. Taku ichumpta, what to do, lots. Taku ichumpta ota. So the farmer, the man was out there in the field, daylight to the evening hours, and the woman, the wives, they have lots to do. They got chickens to look after, chickens to feed, everything. So they used to hire the local the ladies locally, to these farmers around here, to go and help on weekends. So when the ladies go to these farmers to help the ladies manage their daily activities, one of the activities that they used to do is to wash the floor. So that is where Owanka yujajapi comes in. So they go to these farmer places, help the ladies, wakshichu yujaja maybe, wash the dishes and like that. But that was a task, I guess, that must have been given by the farmer's wife to the Dakota to wash the floor. Owanka yujaja. Owanka is the floor, yujaja is to wash. So they brought that back over here in our communities back then. The ladies, the women of the households, they would clean their house, the floors and that on Saturdays, on weekends. So that's where that term comes from. Owanka yujaja pi. Pi is plural, remember? Plural. Owanka yujaja pi. Owanka yujaja is just one. Owanka yujaja. Owanka bedujajakte. I will wash my floor. No, Owanka yujaja, Owanka bedujajakte just means I will wash the floor. If I want to say I will wash my floor, I will say Owanka mitawaki bedujajakte. That's the difference. I just put mine in there, mitawa. Owanka mitawa bedujajakte. I will wash my floor. Owanka bedujajakte. I will wash the floor. And there's no indication of who it belongs to in that phrase, in that sentence. So that's where Owanka yujajapi comes from. It comes from the settler days. So I was talking about for the young families, young inas, young ates out there, that's how language starts, is to teach the young ones, the hokshiopa, wakanhaja, the bibida, the young ones, to teach them to listen. Anagapta, listen when you're talking to the children. They might not hear you because they're playing loud or whatever, and you say, Anagapta, listen. Or you can say, Anamagopta. Ma, I put it in there, that indicates me. Anamagopta, listen to me. And that's an indicator of who is saying that. Anamagopta. Anagopta could be like anybody. So they will teach them little phrases, little commands. You, come here. Remember we talked about Ihidu jaja. Ihidu jaja. Wash. Ite hedu jaja. Hedu, H-D-U. Hedu refers to you. Mi hedu is me. Ite mi hedu jajakte. I will wash my face. Mi hedu jajakte. Ite hedu jaja means you. You. Ite hedu jaja. Nape hedu jaja. Or you can just say, Ite yu jaja, wash the face. Nape yu jaja, wash the hands. Not indicating who. Could be that child, that child, that child. But usually you're looking at them so they know who you're talking to. Nape yujaja, wash your hand. Ite yujaja, wash your face. Pahi is the hair. Pahi yujaja. Or you can say, comb your hair. Pahi kakcha. Kakcha. Or you can say hedakcha, meaning heda means indicates you. Pahi hedakcha, comb your hair. When you say pahi kakcha, then they'll look at you. Oh, who are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Because there's no indication of who you're talking to. Pahi kakcha, that could be anybody. But when you're looking and you say pahi hadakcha, that means now they know who you're talking to because you're listening. You mean you're watching, looking at, and talking to the child. Now they know who you're talking to. Pahi hadakcha. Comb your hair. Pahi is the hair. Hada is you. Kcha is to comb. Hadakcha. Like that. So these are little commands that you could use to teach yourself as a young mom, as a young dad, to teach the young ones how to listen and how to do as told, to do those things that you might want them to do, like takachkata, go play outside. It's too noisy in here. Takachkata. Or you can say, timahitku, come inside. Or you can say, wana, now, this very instant, now, wana, timahitku. It's not hachana timahitku. If it's hachana timahitku, that means you just come in tomorrow, not today. So, de wana timahitku might be something urgent. Wana timahitku, come inside now. T is, remember, tipi, that indicates the house. T, mahed. Mahed is inside. Tipi mahed, house inside. Tipi mahedku, wana timahedku. Little phrases like that. And we also talked about wana iataka, get up now or sit up now. Ihidu wiyaya, get yourself ready. Ihidu wiyaya. Remember, hidu means you. Mihidu is me. Mihidu wiyaya. Nihidu wiyaya. Ihidu wiyaya. I'm using the female gender ending because it's usually the mother or the kunshi, the aunt, that will say these things. So I'm not putting wo at the end. Wo will indicate a man saying it. If the dad is going to say it, he'll say, wana iotaka wo, and that will be the man. Wana ihidu jaja wo, that will be the man. Na pehidu jaja wo, itehidu jaja wo, iotaka wo. Na, here, na, wota wo, eat. The female will leave the wo out. Wana iotaka, ihidu jaja, na pehidu jaja, itehidu jaja. Pahi hidakcha. These are the female gender without the wo at the end. Takachkata wo. When you hear that booming voice of ate, father, takachkata wo, then you know he's meaning business. So you go running outside. Or he might say, wanatimaku wo, come inside, So these are commands that young mums, young dads can start using to communicate with the little ones, so that they understand some Dakota growing up. What you're doing is you're giving them identity. Identity is your name, your language, your tribe, and your territory. Dakota territory. Dakota oyate. Dakota wicha wiya hukshira wakanja bibina dina. Chaje, the name. and the spoken word. That's your identity. Your identity is your language and speaking your Dakota language and having an Indian name. Those are very important. That gives you identity. So that's what you're doing actually as a young mom, as a young dad. You're giving them an identity. Because in the future, as I said, you might say your name, or Washichu name, an English name, and they might ask you, well, what tribe are you from? You'll say Dakota, and you say, okay, well, yeah, say something in Dakota. Well, if you can't do it, and then it's questionable whether you're Dakota or not. Simple, right? So that is why it's important to say your name and your tribe in your language. Mish wakinyoichwa Damakota. Wakinyoichwa Damakota. That's my identity. Nish taku hai. Nish is, what about you? What is it? Tokid enich Iapi hai. What do they call you? Mish wakinyoichwa emakiapi. Emakiapi. That's what they say. That's who they say I am, emakiapi. Who says that? The people, your family. But we believe these names come from Creator, Atewakantaka. And it is that way. Names are given in that fashion. Sometimes by dream, sometimes when how the day is. When somebody is born, the name giver usually in the Tioshpai, means your family, your different members of your family, different houses of your relatives. That's the Tioshpai. Usually once somebody has the responsibility, responsibility, that you have, he has. You have. The responsibility that he has. Remember, Dakota is kind of backwards from English. The objective, I think it's an objective, right? Is first, and then your adjectives or whatever, and yourself, you're the subject, I think, or is it backwards? I can't remember now. But usually English is in order, and the Dakota is backwards to that. I can't remember how it is, but I don't want to confuse myself. So that is who you are. Danikota, Nanikota, Lanikota. You're either Dakota, a Nakota, or Lakota within the Ocheti Shagon. So that in the Tioshpaye, the family groups, there's somebody that's responsible, usually in the back days, has the responsibility of giving names. So I did ask my grandma, and I talked about it before, I did ask my grandma, my kunshi, how do you do that? How do you give Indian name? And that is what she told me. I was just a young boy at that time, when name giving or whatever the conversation they were having, that came up. And I asked my grandma. And she said, well, somebody has the responsibility, or 2 or 3, 4 people out of the Tioshpais will have that responsibility. Back in the day, you don't go travel 100 miles this way, 200 miles that way, to look for a name for your child. No, everything's there. Your Tioshpai has somebody, some people, or one person that gives Indian name. But now we travel 1,000 miles to do that. That shouldn't be like that. And that's part of why we have difficulty today. So anyways, so this person, Kunshi said, this person that has that responsibility, this person will know when a child is going to be born. So they're kind of waiting, yeah. So when a child is born that day, that morning, night, or whatever, they will let the name giver know, okay, the child is born now. And she knows he or she knows they have the responsibility of naming that child. So Koshi said, one of the ways to do it is, okay, when the child is born, you think about it, you contemplate, okay, what is the nature of this birth, or what happened that day? Maybe it was Wakia Aku, the thunders are coming. Maybe it's raining. Maybe it was windy. Maybe the stars were out. Maybe there's a bird over there of a certain color. Maybe there's an animal there of a certain, a color or whatever, Whenever they see those, then they will name that child according to that name. And some people say, well, I have that name, that's my name, There's similar names out there because everybody that does it this way, right? So there will be, like say, if the name giver was sitting and the child is born, and then this person looks out the window and they see a fox running in a field over there, they might name the child after that fox, that red fox, like that. Or they might see an eagle that day, and the name will be about that eagle. That kind of a thing. That's how names are given. So we have to take responsibility as well. To be, collectively we can look after ourselves. We can name our children. We can teach our children to talk the language. And these are the things that we're going to talk to the child about, Iotaka, wota, ihidui, dress up. Akanupikich put your coat on. Chahapa, shoes, boots. Chahapa kich put your shoes on. Wayawa dektaya, you're going to go to school. Wayawa is the school. De is you're going to go. Kte, you will go to school. Not now, but you will. Maybe in an hour's time. Oape waji. Oape num. Oape yamini. Oape topa. 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, like that. So these are simple phrases, simple sentences that you can remember and use. But you have to understand how important that is, right? To do that. Because that is who you are. That is who this child is. This bibina, bibida, bibila. That child is a Dakota. The child has a Dakota name now. Now it's up to you as the ina, the ate, the konshi, the tui, to ensure that she is a full Dakota. A full Dakota is Dakota name, the Dakota language. So you will teach them. And a couple of years ago, was it, when my youngest Takoja was just maybe 2 years old, I think, or 3 years old somewhere. And he was playing with his little toys. Wishkate is toy. Wishkate. Wishkate is toy for the children. Toys. Wishkate. Shkate is play. Wishkate is the things that you use to play. All the toys. Wishkate owas. All the toys. Anyway, that day he comes to visit my Takoja, and he knows how to say like simple Dakota words. He loves his toys, and he was playing with a little toy horse. Oh no, a little toy donkey. But he called him a horse that day, and he said, Unka, hataku Takoja. Shunkawakan, he says. Shunkawakan. I looked at it, and that was a little donkey. And I looked at him. I wanted to correct him, the difference between a shunkawakan and a shunshun. Shunshun is a donkey. Shunkawakan is a horse. So I told Takoja, my grandson, yeah, Takoja. Shunshun, I said. He looked at me. And I pointed to him, Shunshun. I pointed at the donkey. And Shunkawakan, I pointed at the horse. He looked at me again. So I told him again, Shunkawakan, Shunshun. And I told him, say Shunshun. He said it perfectly, Shunshun. Yes, Heichitu, that is correct. Shunshun, Shunkawakan. So we went out to play, And so I called him over again. I picked up the donkey and said, Takoja detaku. What is this? Shunshun, he said. So there he knows. He knows the difference between a horse and a donkey, a mule. That is how you teach. That is how you teach yourself. That is how you teach the children. It could be a bird, zitkada. It could be a specific bird, like a meadowlark. Remember, I said meadowlark the other day. Tashiaka popopa is a meadowlark. But zitkada will suffice. You're just learning. They're just learning. So zitkada, bird, But we can say, Wabadi, that's so significant in our traditions, in that. So Wabadi is significant, So you can say Wambadi, Zitkada Wambadi, or you can say Tatanka, the buffalo, and then the grandsons, they know that, the granddaughter. Tatanka, they always want to go see the Tatanka. So significant in our lifestyle, the Wambadi, the Tatanka. They know those. So as a young mom, as a young dad, you learn these words. You're just ensuring that your child has an identity. Duweki ha oyakia. You're helping. Oyakia. Okia, help, He okia, help that person. De okia, help this person. Omakia, help me. Ochichiekte, I will help you. Simple words like that. And that I'm guaranteed these little ones, they will pick it up. Just like that. It only took a minute for me to make him understand that this is a donkey and this is a horse. See the difference? He picked it up within a minute. He said, this is Shunshu. And I believe that he went home and he did say it to the parents, that Shunshu, like that. So it only took a minute. So as a young mom, as a young dad, it only take a minute, half a minute to say a Dakota word and understand it, to teach them. How simple is that? But it's the actual thinking about it, and knowing it's important, and doing it. That's all in you. That's all up to you. Hey Niepido, it's you. Echanupte, to do it. Ish echanupte shini. You're not going to do it. That is up to you. Dina wana, these already we told you. Dina wana ukoni chiakapi. We told you ukoni chiakapi. Dina wana ukoni chiakapi. How important it is to have the language, to have the name. So start simple like that in the morning, but make sure you know what you're talking about as a young mom, as a young dad. Yotaka, sit down. Wota, ihidu jaja, ihidui, waya, go to school. Simple like that. Learn those today. You can learn that. What I just finished saying here, you can learn that today. You can learn that in 10-15 minutes. Simple. But I will keep on repeating these. Wana, now, Wana, W-N-A, wana. Iotaka. Iotaka. Get up. I-Y-O-I-O-T-A-K-A-Ka. Iotaka. Wana iotaka. Or you can ask it in a questioning manner. Wana iotaka, huh? Because you don't, the child will be in a bedroom and you can't see him. If the child is right here, you can you're right there. The child is there. You can see the child. You can say, "Wana iotaka," because you're just right there. But if you can't see the child, he or she's in the bedroom, you can ask a question, whether they're awake and getting up now. You can say, "Wana iotaka, ha?" Ha is the question mark. Wana iotaka, ha? And they might say, huh, as a girl, or ho, as the boy. Wana ibidotake ye, as the girl, I am awake, I am up now. Wana ibidotake ye. You can teach them to say that. Wana ibidotake do, the boy will say that. Wana ibidotake do, that's the boy. So you can teach them that when they're in their bedroom. So you can teach them. So when you can teach them to answer you. So you teach them. So repeat what I said or answer what I said. You'll say to me, huh? Wana ibidotake ye, as the girl. Huh? Wana ibidotake ye. Or as the boy, ho, wana ibidotake do. Ho is yes. Do is the male gender ending. Ho, wana ibidotake do. The boy will say that. Teach them that. Teach them to respond to you. If a response is needed, teach them what the response is. So simple words like that in the morning. Simple words. When they come home from school or whatever, different words. You can say, Wanaya hadiha, you're home now. Ehon timaid hidichu, come inside. Ozikia togash, Ozikia, rest, have a rest. Ozikia, because they're up since 6:37 in the morning, all day, wayawa tipihechia, all day, ape to ate, wayawa tipihechia. They're learning. So they come home, they're tired. Koshi, I'm tired. Ina, I'm tired. Teach them how to say in Dakota. Koshi, echunwa kapi. Ina, echunwa kapi. I'm tired. Echunwa kapi. I don't feel like doing anything. Echunwa kapi. Chun wa ka pin. This N is a nasal N. Pin, not pen. Sounds like pen, right? It's pin. Pin. Practice that. Pin. Because this comes up a lot in our language, Dakota language. Pin. Chun, do, wa, that whatever it is, wa, ka, pin. Chun, wa, ka, pin. Wa, ka, pin means I don't feel like doing it. Chun, wa, ka, pin. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. Tired. I'm tired, or I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like doing. I'm tired, I'm lazy, I don't feel like doing it. Sorry, Mom. So you can teach them how to say these things. Are you tired? They might say back to you, huh or ho. E chon kapi ye or e chon kapi do. Ihon, ozikia, okay, rest. Ozikia, okay, rest. To have a rest. So they'll go have a rest, you know. So when they're up, you might see them walking in with some books or whatever. You can use the word homework, okay? Let's not make it too difficult, you know. If you know the child has homework, you can ask them after supper or whatever. You can say, homework ayahadi hai. You can say, homework ayahadi hai. Ahadi is you brought it home. I brought it home. Ahadi. Did you bring homework home? Homework ayahadi hai. Ahadi is you brought it home. Ha is the question. Homework ayahadi hai. They might say huh or ho. This will be after supper. Then you can say, okay, homework ichun. Homework ichun. Homework do. Homework do. Do your homework. Homework nitawa, yours. Homework nitawa ichun. You can say homework nitawa ki. Remember the N? A nasal N. Homework nitawa ki ichun. Like that. And then they'll do complaining and they will do their homework. Because that's how it usually happens. I don't want to do it. I'm tired. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. You have to do it. Yeah. You put the emphasis on the yeah. You know, that's the emphasis. You know. So these are words that you can learn as a young mom, as a young dad, to practice for yourself, to use yourself. Use it on each other too, between spouses, you know. Get up now. Wash cook, you know. Dina we chayu we yayawo. The kids going to go to school. Dina we chayu we yaya. Get them ready. Yuiyaya, getting it ready. Bduiyaya, duiyaya, getting it ready. Getting myself ready. Getting them ready. Bduiyaya, Bduiyaya is more than one. Bduiyaya is just one person. Bduiyaya kte. Not right now, not this instant, but after at a certain time, an appropriate time. Kte. 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 I will get them ready. Kte. I will cook. Not right now. The pan is not hot yet. Not right now. When you say kte is at an appropriate time. Kte. Wakshicha, all the utensils, household utensils. When you say wakshicha, it means it can mean everything, your knives, your forks, and everything. Spoons, everything. Wakshicha badujajakte. I will wash the utensils, the plates, the bowls, like that. It means that. But you can be specific. You can say, wichape badujajakte. Wichape is the fork. Chapa is to stab. Wichape, the thing that you use to stab with. Wichape badujajakte. Like that, you can be specific. A spoon is, two crafts a spoon.
Tukiha.
Or tukiha, yes, it just left my mind. Tukiha. Tukiha b'dujajikt, I will wash the spoon. Wakshicha, the plate, b'dujajikt. The bowl, wakshicha shkokpa b'dujajikt. But you can include everything by saying wakshicha b'dujajikt. I will wash the plates, you know, whatever. These words you can use as the mother, but the fathers can do that too. The fathers could say, I'm going to go outside, takad bidega, piji wakashdakte. I'm going to go outside, mow the lawn. I'll go outside and mow the lawn. Takabdega Piji Wakashdakta. Or the dad might say, Why chumedekte? I'm going to go to work. Wawate, I eat. Hehan, and then why chumedekte? I'll go to work. So these are kind of things that you can learn as a young mom, as a young dad, or kunshi or unka, to teach the kids, give them their identity. Duebhe ovachakyapo, help them. Wichak give them that identity. They'll know who they are. When they say damakota ye, damakota do, then they'll be truthful in what they're saying. Damakota ye, damakota do. Remember, women, female, male, man on this side. Women, wicha, konshi, unka. You know how this is a cane, an old person. Hand talk. Now, being wahadaka, be talking with your hands. You can use that too, to make the child understand. Iotaka, hand talk. Wota, Ido jaja, napeyo jaja, iteyo jaja. So when they're looking at you, they know what they're talking about. Wota, idui, chahapa'un. So these kinds of things, they'll learn, they'll know what you're talking about. So I encourage you to do that. So simple phrases, like say, I think last year I talked a little bit about that. When you go to these public places, and this is something that maybe the receptionists should know at these public places like the school, the health center, the council center over there, the community center, the receptionists, okay? Maybe those council members that might be listening to today's session, you can encourage your receptionists to speak in this fashion, how to greet people that are walking, especially when they know that the person that's walking in is an otanka, an elder, or somebody older that knows the language. You should encourage your receptionist to know these words, because remember, in your constitution it says to promote, protect, and preserve the language. Well, let's do it. Hey chunk umptedo, we will do that. So you can teach the receptionist or ask him to listen to this portion of today's session. You can say words like, you can say greetings. You can or ho. Usually the receptionist is a lady, is a girl. So you can say That's an acknowledgement. H-A-N. Remember the nasal N? It's kind of like an acknowledgement, like a hello. She'll be looking at the person walking in. You can maybe say doked. Doked. Yaun. Doked is a shortened version of doked kid. How? Doked kid. How? It's a shortened to doked. Doked yaun. You don't have to say today. If you want to say today, ampe tukinde doked yaun. Or in the evening, you can say chtaye tukinde doked yaun. But you don't have to say it. You can just say this. Doked yaun. How are you doing? How are you doing? These are words that a receptionist might say. How are you doing? And as a receptionist, they'll want to know your business. Because usually when we're going there, we want to talk to one of the council or the chief, you know. And here's the nasal N again. Chin. Chin. Due, who, wadaka, yachin. Due is who. Due. Wadaka, yachin. Yachin. Who do you want to see? To see. So the receptionist, as you're walking in, they might look at you. Dokadyon. Due wadaka yachin. Who? Due wadaka yachin. Who do you want to see? They might say, the chief. They might say, Chief wabadaka wachin. Wab da ka wachin. Chief wabadaka wachin. And they might say that, or one of the council members. Counselor wabadaka wachin. I want to see. And the response to that, whomever this person is, because they're not right there to see them, you know, they might be in the office somewhere. So the girl might say, ihun. Okay. Ihun. Okay. Iotaka. Have a seat. Iotaka. Ihun iotaka. Have a seat or sit. Okay. Somebody says, I want to see the chief. You say, okay. Iotaka. Have a seat. Point to where the seating area is. Iotaka. Then they might say, just to shorten this conversation, here's that nasal N again. Iotaka. Okay, have a seat. Wakipan, I will call. I will call. Wakipan kte. When you have a seat, not right now, you don't say it, you don't keep on right away. You say, Iotaka. Wakipan kte. I will call. Not right now, but I will do that in appropriate time. Wakipan kte. I will call or summon. You can summon, calling. After they sit down, they say, okay, you ring up the chief and say, somebody here to see you. But that would be awesome, I think, when you go to the office down here, or to the gas bar, or to the gaming center, community center, or to the school. There's always a receptionist there welcoming people. And this will be so good to hear, to know, to know that, hey, we are Dakota, So maybe those council members, maybe the chief, I will let you know about this. Maybe you can ask them to watch today's session for the receptionists to use, and make sure they're using it. Give them a day or so, and make sure they use it when they open up the offices or whatever, the school, whatever, to ensure that they use these words. Do kedian on. Due wadaka yachin ha. Iataka. Wakipunkte. Wakipunkte. I will call. So, remember, promote, preserve, protect the language. That's all you're doing. It's in our constitution to promote, to protect, to preserve the language. This is nothing hard to request of your employees. You know, they greet people, maybe 150 people in a day. You know, you can say this 50 times in a day. Ihon tuwe wadaka yachi. Ihon yataka. Wakipunkte. Who do you want to see? Iotaka, have a seat. Wakipunkte, I will summon this person that you want to talk to. I think that's a grand idea. I think it's a good idea. What do you think? Yes, hey? I think it's really good. So maybe give it a week or so, just to test it out. Maybe next week, I'll go to the band office and I'll walk in, see if I hear these words. Okay? Today I will tell one of the counselors that this is what we're talking about today, and to prepare the receptionists these words, so that when I go there next week, I'll hear it. And I'll say, oh, washteda, I like it. Yomakpe makes me happy, because this is who we are. I think that'll be a good challenge out there. And then they're practicing who they are. Simple as that. I will go that far. And then we will have a few minutes break, and then we'll come back. I'll drink some coffee. Hey, chitaru.
Mitaki api ake. Dechirwa hibritaki amija taku strvaiga ish Dakota chokhangna. Ito chistina iwo hadakikte. You know, I just wanted to do a recap of some of the things that I have talked about before. And I wanted to go back to, I talked about Flower Day, how it became to be according to my ate father, how he told me. So, and it's kind of different now. So that's what I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit more about, how it's done now. And one of the things that, and we do this like, my own family, we do this, come Flower Day. And Flower Day, usually starts at the beginning of, end of May, all of June. There's a few cemeteries here in Wipazokawakpa. So everybody has a chance, to feed their loved ones that have, made that journey. And it usually happens, on a Sunday. So one of the things that we were always told is, prior to Flower Day, Iapi, Flower Day, 4 days prior, we humble ourselves, to stay in a humbling way, to pray, not to be chazeh, be upset or angry, because the loved ones know that this day is coming. So they want to come in a good way, so as they will take the food that is going to be offered to them. So before the 4 days, you do your prayer every day, like when you go shopping, to shop with a good heart. Don't be just grabbing and throwing things into your cart. Take your time, maybe, my relative might like this or whatever that you're purchasing. And they might, since you're in prayer mode, some things you might hit some good deals, like you might not pay, an arm and a leg for something that you really want. So things like that, it happens, but you have to have that good heart, a good mind, let your spirit be happy, and do things in a good way. And when you get home, as you're putting them away, let, the others in the household know that, okay, don't touch these ones, because we're going to be using these when we go up to the cemetery. Like that, So the day comes now to, do your cooking. Again, get up early. Don't rush. Say your prayer and smudge. My late mother always said, whatever that you're going to use, like your pot, teapots, spoons, whatever that you're going to be utilizing, on that day as you're cooking, you smudge those, even to smudge the stove, so everything will work out in a good way. And to smudge, keep all what you need to use, put them all together, and, smudge over them. So, and they were very, my parents were very humbling in that way. They took those very seriously because they believe that our loved ones, they come, to take whatever is offered to them. And, if you don't do that, if you're, upset or, angry at something, don't use that. Don't be like that. Don't go to the cemetery, with an angry attitude. Go there, with a happy mood. Because as you're setting out your food, you set it out and, in a humbling way. You say your prayer as you're setting it out. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, but you set it out and you say your prayer. Because if you're angry, not in a very good mood, or, if you have done or made bad choices, just prior to that, they might not come. It will hold them back. They won't want to come because that food is contaminated. They won't want to touch that food. So that's why, I believe that if we do things in a good way, things will work out. And I learned that from my own parents, my own grandparents. This is what they've always done. So we carry that within ourselves. And now, I share it with my family. My daughter, my grandson, Takojas, to the older, adult Takojas, what to do and how to do things, to be happy. It's not a time to be angry. You can put that aside, and don't pick it up. Even when it's over and, you go home, don't pick up that anger. Keep happy. You should be a person like that. We should be happy all the time. There's no need to be angry or, be ticked off by something that you heard. But, we have to be strong, I guess, to have a strong heart, not to take things personally. And that's one of the hardest things, that is hard to do, is to let it bounce off you. We want to react to what is being said or done to you in a negative way. It's it may hurt your feelings. It may hurt your family. But we have to be strong. And that's why in our Dakota way of life, our prayer will guide us through. It will make us, overcome, many things if we do the prayer in a good way. And don't expect to see miracles just like that, because miracles don't happen if you're pray in an angry way or or some, I've heard somebody say at one time, well, I pray and pray all the time and nothing happens. And I thought to myself, well, look at you. You're still angry. So, but I told her, like, be of good mind. I said, when you pray, don't bring anger into yourself. Keep that away. And that's what I mean, like it's hard. It's hard to keep that anger away, especially if that's what we're used to day in, day out, somebody is angry, but we can't carry somebody else's anger or anybody else's problems, We look after ourselves. We look after our own spirit, our own heart and mind. That's what's important within us, not somebody else's. You can talk to them in a good way, but you can't change a person. And you can't, sometimes, it's hard to say, oh, you should pray. But yeah, you should pray, but, like, it takes time for a person to understand that, Everybody's always telling me to pray. But we have to be gentle with things like that. Be gentle with our words when we talk to somebody, that is in need of help. We have to understand maybe they have gone through something in their life that they still carry. But we have to understand that, it takes them a longer time and a harder time for them to let go. So what you do is, you pray for that person to make things a little bit easier and, for them to see themselves and to be able to work out things in a good way. It's especially now, like with so many things happening, in communities, we come upon a lot of things, a lot of negative things, It seems that the negative, it outweighs the positive. Every time you hear something, it's something negative about so-and-so, about leadership, about the school, whatever. And, and it shouldn't be like that. We have to be able to see the brighter side, I guess, and, and work on that. And when you do that, trying to help a person, it also makes you feel good, that you had tried to help somebody in a good way. So it kind of works both ways, and prayer is always important. With myself, I walk with prayer, and I'm not just saying that because I do. Even, when I'm on my vehicle, that prayer comes because when I've used to that, I trained myself to do that. So that prayer is always there for me. And I'm not saying that, I can pray a lot better than anybody, but I walk that way of life, and I want to continue to walk that way of life because I believe, that Wakantanka is always there to listen and to help me. Yeah, I'm just an ordinary human being too, and I do have problems. I come upon a lot of things. Yes, I do get angry at times, but I don't carry them. I can get angry, when my Dakota does something that I don't like. Yeah, I'll be angry at him for a little bit, but I usually talk to him and try and resolve whatever situation it is. So we have to train ourselves in that way, and it's hard. It's not easy to do that. It's very hard to do that, to try and live a good life. We struggle. Everybody else struggles, but we keep trying. We don't give up. You never give up. Just try, try, try. That's what we can do, for ourselves. If we want to make ourselves better, we give it a try. If it doesn't work, maybe you can try it this way. But it's there. Everything is, possible. Sometimes we just don't see that. So, and going back to, I kind of got carried away. Going back to our Wa'ehede, doing the settings, you put out your food and you pray. Sometimes, some may smudge their settings, which is fine, that's okay. And then the Ieska will say, a few words. If a singer is there, he will sing a song. And that's, to help our loved ones that are out there waiting. Iaki panajipe, waiting out there, to be invited to come and to join, the family that has bought food for them. So once, that happens when they're invited, and you can do the same too, like I have brought food here and I want you to come and eat it. It's not hard to call out to them and tell them to eat. So once they're done taking that food, and then you give it to somebody. Sometimes somebody that's in need, like some people, because of the price of food now, some people can't afford a lot of things, you can give it to them. Or, a good friend of this person that you have done your Wa'ehede for, the setting, somebody that reminds you of that person. So it could be, anybody else, just helping out a person, to take the food and to take it home and share it with their own relatives in their household. So it's, it's sharing and giving, remembering our loved ones that have gone on. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on that, so remember, to say those prayers. And then when it's all over, you're all done with everything, you offer your thank you. Say your thank you, to the Creator for helping you out, to make things just a little bit easier for you. And, and you will feel it in your heart that you have done something good that you will carry. And maybe even your own family might see that, and they will carry that on for you. So with that, Iapi, that's, just a little bit of things that I wanted to share, just to clarify, things that I may have missed. But, it's sometimes as I'm talking, sometimes I forget to say things that should be addressed, but I always remember, afterwards when I'm done. That's why, that's the part that I had missed out. So I wanted to put that in there too, and to help you, understand a little bit more of how things are done, in our Dakota communities, because all our Dakota communities here in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, they do the same things as what we do here in Sioux Valley for Flower Day. So Iapi, thank you so much. Anakop na nakapi, ana opera ichichapi, aketo hato atista aket na da kapte, ana hechito ye mitakiapi.
Do we want to go on break or?
No, I was thinking.
Over to you.
15 minutes.
7:15? Okay.
Okay, Uhudipida, we're back again. Just to finish off the last few minutes of our session, I just wanted to go back to a short video I did a couple of days ago, and it has to do with Dakota, Dakota Territory, 1763 Royal Proclamation by King George III. And not a lot of people, but a couple of people were asking me about that information. What is, or where did you see the Royal Proclamation? And anybody you can Google it, I guess, and you can find what the Royal Proclamation is and what it's all about. I always talk about the research that my friend did, the history of Dakota. And this little booklet starts from the years 1650 to 1770 is the French Indian Wars. And sometimes when I talk about these things, I make a mistake on the actual date because I just go by what I remember. But sometimes I make a mistake. So this booklet starts from 1650s to the 1770s. So in here, this friend of mine that did the research, he has the Royal Proclamation of King George III. This Royal Proclamation was done at the Court of St. James, the 7th day of October, 1763, in the year of our reign. God save the King, it says. And it's not a very long proclamation. In the beginnings, it talks about how, of course, the United States wasn't the United States yet at that time. So in here, the king is dividing up the lands, back then, East Florida, Louisiana, and those kinds of places he was dividing. But what I'm interested in is where he talks about towards the end of his proclamation, towards the end of his proclamation, he talks about those lands that he hasn't outright purchased or haven't been surrendered to him by the Indians. Okay? This is where my interest is, and this is where and what I was talking about the other day. Now, I did also say that after the French and British War, 1750s, at that time when these two countries were fighting over Quebec, the eastern part of Canada, the monarchy, the king, through the military, made allies with the Dakota people back in those days, and we are still the same people. We had agreement on military, economic, and trade, as what I said the other day. But where I'm coming from, where he says those lands that I haven't purchased or haven't been given to me by the tribes, they're to be left alone, and no settlement is to happen. If it happens, it will be to his displeasure. Okay, so I'll just read out that portion, leaving out where he divides up the lands in the states along the eastern seaboard out that way. But these are several paragraphs here that is what and where I was referring to when I was talking in that fashion on that video. And the Royal Proclamation reads like this, and I will try to be quick about it. It says, "We do likewise authorize and require the governors and commanders-in-chief of all our said colonies upon the continent of North America to grant the like quantities of land, and upon the same conditions to such reduced officers of our navy of like rank as served on board our ships of war in North America at the times of the reduction of Louisbourg and Quebec in the late war, and who shall personally apply to our respective governors for such grants. And whereas it is just and reasonable and essential to our interest and the security of our colonies that the several nations or tribes of Indians with whom we are connected and who live under our protection should not be molested or disturbed in the possession of such parts of our dominions and territories as, not having been ceded to or purchased by us, are reserved to them or any of them as their hunting grounds. We do, therefore, with the advice of our Privy Council, declare it to be our royal will and pleasure that no governor or commander-in-chief in any of our colonies of Quebec, East Florida, or West Florida to presume upon any pretense whatever to grant warrants of survey or pass any patents for lands beyond the bounds of their respective governments as described in their commissions, as also that no governor or commander-in-chief in any of our other colonies or plantations in America do presume for the present, and until our further pleasure be known, to grant warrants of survey or pass patents for any lands beyond the heads or sources of any of the rivers which fall into the Atlantic Ocean from the west and northwest, or upon any lands whatever, which, not having been ceded to or purchased by us, as aforesaid, are reserved to the said Indians or any of them. And we do further declare it to be our royal will and pleasure, for the present, as aforesaid, to reserve under our sovereignty, protection, and dominion for the use of the said Indians all the lands and territories not included within the limits of our said three new governments, or within the limits of the territory granted to the Hudson's Bay Company, as also all the lands and territories lying to the westward of the sources of the rivers which fall into the sea from the west and northwest, as aforesaid. And we do hereby strictly forbid, on pain of our displeasure, all our loving subjects from making any purchases or settlements whatever, or taking possession of any of the lands above reserved, without our especial leave and license for that purpose first obtained. And we do further strictly enjoin and require all persons whatever who have either willfully or inadvertently seated themselves upon any lands within the countries above described, or upon any other lands which, not having been ceded to or purchased by us, are still reserved to the said Indians, as aforesaid, forthwith to remove themselves from such settlements. And whereas great frauds and abuses have been committed in purchasing lands of the Indians, to the great prejudice of our interests, and to the great dissatisfaction of the said Indians, in order, therefore, to prevent such irregularities for the future, and to the end that the Indians may be convinced of our justice and determined resolution to remove all reasonable cause of discontent, we do, with the advice of our Privy Council, strictly enjoin and require that no private person do presume to make any purchase from the said lands, from the said Indians of any lands reserved to the said Indians, within those parts of our colonies where we have thought proper to allow settlement, but that if at any time any of the said Indians should be inclined to dispose of the said lands, the same shall be purchased only for us in our name, at some public meeting or assembly of the said Indians, to be held for that purpose by the governor or commander-in-chief of our colony respectively, within which they shall lie. And in case they shall lie within the limits of any proprietary government, they shall be purchased only for the use and in the name of such proprietaries, conformable to such directions and instructions as we or they shall think proper to give for that purpose. And we do, by the advice of our Privy Council, declare and enjoin that the trade with the said Indians shall be free and open to all our subjects whatever, provided that every person who may incline to trade within the said Indians do take out a license for carrying on such trade from the governor or commander-in-chief of any of our colonies respectively where the such person shall reside, and also give security to observe such regulations as we shall at any time think fit, by ourselves or by our commissaries to be appointed for this purpose, to direct and appoint for the benefit of the said trade. And we do hereby authorize, enjoin, and require the governors and commanders-in-chief of all our colonies, respectively, as well those under our immediate government as those under the government and direction of proprietaries, to grant such licenses without fee or reward, taking especial care to insert therein a condition, and such license shall be void, and the security forfeited in case the person to whom the same is granted shall refuse or neglect to observe such regulations as we shall think proper to prescribe as I have foresaid. And we do further expressly conjoin and require all officers whatever, as well military, and those employed in the management and direction of Indian affairs, within the territories reserved as aforesaid for the use of the said Indians, to seize and apprehend all persons whatever, who standing charged with treason, misprisions of treason, murders, or other felonies or misdemeanors, shall fly from justice and take refuge in the said territory, and to send them under a proper guard to the colony where the crime was committed of which they stand accused, in order to take their trial for the same. Given at our court at St. James, the 7th day of October, 1763, in the year of our reign. God save the King. And that is what it says in the Royal Proclamation. Those lands that he hasn't outright purchased or have not been surrendered to him are to be left alone to the Indians and not to be settled in any way. No person shall settle without the express permission from himself or the Privy Council or the Governor General on down to the federal government of Canada, which is in Ottawa. So this is where I'm coming from. We are the people that he's talking about in this case, not only us, but one of the peoples that he's talking about, that he hasn't had any agreement yet, is how to dispose of land. So when I say that, I'm expressing what is being said in the Royal Proclamation. So as a Dakota nation of those times, 1763, we are still the same. And he has not purchased from us, or we haven't surrendered to him any portion of our territories. So this land that I called Dakota Territory is still reserved for us to use as we please. So anybody that is settled within Dakota Territory is there illegally. That is why I said that the other day. And you are to be tried, you are to be charged and tried at an appropriate time, at an appropriate place. This is where I'm coming from. This is written for all to see, for all to know. He's giving out the command. to the people that or the people who are under his authority, and that is Canada today. So it's in black and white what he's talking about. That is why I say Dakota territory still belongs to Dakota people, because we haven't given it up. We haven't surrendered it. Now, if at any time between 1763 to today, has this changed? Has the Royal Proclamation changed? Has the British North America Act changed? No, it's still here. Yesterday, King Charles was in the United States talking to the president. He should have came over and talked to us. We are allies. Together, we defend Canada. We defend Canada in 1876 and prior 1875, the War of Independence between British and what is now known as the United States. This is where the allyship comes in, the military agreement comes in. The monarchy, the king, the military asked us to help them, and we did at those times, and also in 1812 again, back before Confederation. We were there as a border, as a buffer between the United States and what is known as Canada today. We have been there militarily. We haven't given up. We haven't put it aside. And as far as I know, the monarchy, the kings and queens today haven't taken that out of their proclamation. So it's still in existence. It's still law, you know. So that's why I say that. Those lands that are reserved to the Indians, to the Dakota, is still there for the Dakota to use. Anybody else that is settled within that territory is there illegally, and that is why I say that. Hey, Chitado, that is so. I'm just reading from what it is. Washti.